Hi everyone. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves back there. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Grosart and I'm a cave diver. I'm also a paramedic and an offshore dive medic. As you can see, this is where I am right now, working from my second home, I suppose. So Charlotte from Divecrew has asked me to do a little video for you, kind of like a Q&A session, so it can be about anything like cave diving, diving in general, ghost fishing UK, which is the charity that I run with my partner and a mutual friend. So over the last couple of days we've had a few questions from you guys, so I'm going to try and answer them as best as I can. So I think we'll start with the first one. The first one's from, I think I pronounced his name Joe, from Brazil, and he's asking, what is the most challenging part of your job right now? Well, you know, as a medic and as a paramedic, you can pretty much guess that you know, the COVID-19 is preying on our minds. We're all out in the North Sea trying to keep your gas and your fuel and power and everything going. We're just this moment finished up at an oil rig out in the North Sea, and now we're heading out to a wind farm. So we've got divers in saturation at the moment, so they're on their decompression, they're coming up, they're going to be getting off the boat in the next sort of 24 hours, and we're then heading out on an ROV job to a wind farm to do some inspections and some ROV survey there. So the most challenging part for me as a medic is keeping everybody healthy, keeping everybody well, on a boat offshore in the middle of nowhere. You know, we're going to be out there for 3 or 4 weeks maybe. We have good medical provisions and we have really good facilities. I've got my own hospital here, which is quite cool. And but yeah, I mean, it's testing times for everybody, and especially when we do things like crew changes, you know, we've got healthy people going off and unknown people coming on, so that's the biggest thing really, is to make sure that everyone's fit and well. The last thing we want is people getting sick offshore anyway, never mind with COVID-19, so obviously that's a big thing. But all that aside, the biggest challenge for me, I think, is probably, like we say, remote working. You've only got what you've got. There's only one medic, and I think that the biggest worry is, you know, what if anything happens to me, really? You know, there's a few people that will give it a go, but yeah, we only have one medic, so I'm kind of on my own out here. So that's kind of the biggest challenge, but it doesn't worry me. Somebody else asked, how did working for the NHS as a paramedic kind of prepare me for this kind of work? It kind of does in a few ways, because it's very stressed, you know, and an interesting thing that some of my friends say back home at the ambulance station back home in Shepton is, when I started working offshore, they were like, well, oh my God, it's just you out there, you've got hundreds and hundreds of people, you know, how are you going to cope? And I said, well, yeah, I've got hundreds and hundreds of people, but they're not all patients, they're working people, they're well. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of patients. When I'm working a night shift on a car, a rapid response vehicle back home on my own in Somerset, you know, sometimes we're told, you know, hey, you're the only available resource and you have potentially got hundreds and hundreds of patients. So actually, you know, being offshore, sometimes you're kind of a little bit luckier. So yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge. But actually, you know, working in the NHS, certainly working on your own on a car, you've already been through that kind of pressure. Anything could come in at any time, so we're used to that. So another question somebody asked, this is totally like a bit of a wild card. Someone's done their homework on me. Like, what did they say? What was the reason I changed from working with horses to the ambulance service? Well, that was kind of a weird one. That happened really as a result of a friend of mine called Carmen, who may be watching this. I was working in horse racing because horses were my main passion, and I was getting involved with caving. I was starting to hang out with some cave divers and carry some of their bottles and all that kind of stuff. And I realised that actually, you know, if you're going to be a cave diver, you need some money, right? You know, working on a horse racing wage doesn't really you know, help in terms of finances, right? So, you know, yeah, you get to live where you work, and you get to make your passion your job, which is great, but it's not, it doesn't fund anything else. And I wanted to get involved in cave diving. I wanted to do it myself. So I figured I needed a career change. And actually I had a conversation with Carmen, who's a caving friend of mine, and she said, well, why don't you join the ambulance service? You know, she said it's a better wage and you get more time off, all the rest of it. And I had never had anything to do with anything medical at all. So I looked into it. I did some volunteering. at a Great Western Hospital in Swindon in my evenings, and I just did some preparation and did some homework, and I just kind of went on from there really. Trained as a technician, then I went on to be a paramedic, and that's got me out here offshore. So what I would say to people is, look, don't be scared of anything. Don't be scared of something you don't know. If there's something you don't know that you want to do, just go and research it. Go and do your homework. Go and find out as much as you can. And just go for it. Just go right ahead and do it. So that's all I can think of for now. What I'll do later, if I get a chance, I'll maybe just go and take a look around the ship and show you where I work. So bye for now, and hopefully catch up with you guys soon. And take care, all of you at Divecrew. Hope you're taking care of yourselves, and hopefully you'll be able to get back in the water soon. Bye for now.